All right, let's talk about multiple time frames real quick. A lot of times I'll tell people I'm looking for a trade and I'm rolling through multiple time frames to find an entry. And they'll do what I do when there's stuff that I don't know. I just nod and I go, yeah, all right. So you can kind of tell that either they don't want to ask or it doesn't make any sense to them. But let's just look real quick. So if you're looking at this chart and you're trying to find a place to trade, what might be a logical place where you're like, oh man, this looks bad, it's pulling back. So this is a 1 minute time frame, okay? Each candle is 1 minute. Most of you guys know this. If this is something you know, just turn the video off. Who cares? You don't need this shit. For the guys that don't know, 1 minute time frame, right? Let's roll up to a 5. So each one of these is 5 of those. So looking at this, you've got your overlay. And this chart is really simple. You've only got an EMA 12 and an EMA 26. The blue one here, that's your 12. So that's the last 12 candles and the exponential moving average, and the EMA 26, the last 26. Okay, so it's just like the 9, the 20, the 50. It's just giving you an idea of how fast something's expanding or contracting in comparison to a longer time frame. Okay, so if you're looking at this right now and you're like, oh man, they're turning down, well, that's bad. Oh man, there was the high, you know, there's some range right there, and there's a logical spot right there, but that's not necessarily where it stopped at. That's not exactly the reason, but it's multiple lineups. That's where the spot was, that it was consolidating, accumulating, and slowly grinding. And over here was the old high. So look, that high, that low, they tested, but if you're like, oh man, I don't know, that's scary. That is scary looking on the 5 minute, but I'd be looking for an entry on a further back time frame. So let's just keep scaling back. Okay, well, there's the 15. Still in the middle of no place. It's below an EMA. It's weaker than the EMA. It's just breaking down now. It's pulling away. But if I was going to look for a trade, where might be the next one? Ooh, let's look at the 1 hour. That's what it hit. It hit the 1 hour and bounced. So when you notice a run has done all this, and it might be coming to the end, it will start breaking down the 1 minute time frame, the EMAs, the 5s, the 10s, you know, the 15s, 30s, so on and so forth. When it starts hitting the 1 hours and it missed the first one and broke through it, as a short, that's what I'd be looking for, okay? I would look to enter there, cover there. But as a long, I'm all still looking for a bounce. So if I were to roll through the time frames and now I'm on the 1 hour, I'm like, oh man, if this hadn't dropped down yet, I'd be going, well, does that 1 hour line up with anything else strong? Yeah, look to the left. There's all kinds of congestion. That's the top. So there's a good chance that that's still a solid bounce. If there's enough spread between the EMAs to get you, you know, 50 cents, $1, $2, whatever. Sometimes it's wider, sometimes it's less. But that's a spot where you can start to look at risk reward and say, okay, I might want to go in, you know, a fourth size here, half size. I just want to go in for a bounce play. Like that's the setup. You're looking for an EMA bounce on a pullback. Okay, continuation on. This is not looking so good anymore. It could grind on forever, but I'm gonna look at the 6 hour because maybe that's a little safer. Oh look, still hasn't even come down to it yet. So if that 1 hour first pullback breaks like it did there, and it caught the second EMA on the hour, if that one breaks as well, where's the next logical spot? 6 hour. Okay. So there's a spot to take an entry right there, 50.26-ish. So where does it line up with anything? You know, kind of in that area. How about the lower 48? Well, the 48 low right there lines up with, you know, that whole consolidating top right there before it popped. So, you know, the next safest entry, that 49 area, even safer 48, 78, or that's your entry and that's your stop out if you're going to stop out. Now, given this run a lot, if that breaks as well, where's the next spot that's, you know, going to stop down below? Left side of your chart, start looking for, you know, places that were switch over. So if you look right there, 40.10, that's where it's, you know, started to pull back and bounced off of. But if you look back to the left side of the chart, it bounced off that upper deck. So, you know, that's kind of like logical spots. So look at the one day time frames. Every candle now 1 day. So you can already tell it's got a nasty top wick there. It's probably going to start pulling back. And if it does, logical spot is 47.35, which also is the top of that. And if that and that fails, the next logical spot to take an EMA play is 42.97. So if you were going to take the 1 hour bounce and bet on that holding, if it didn't, there's a lot of downside between there and the 1-day EMA for even EMA bounce plays, because that's how many could collapse. When you're looking for a run to end and start to collapse, the wider the spread is on these, the better the short if you're a short seller. You're probably not going to get to short too many places in crypto. A lot of you guys won't be able to at all. But if you were, this would be the setup you're looking for a fail, because now there's wide stops in between bounces. There's places to cover, and that's logical. Bears will cover there and dip buyers will buy it. So that's exactly why I'm going to take the 1 hour. It's because what I'm hoping is that this pullback is going to be enough of a pullback from 53, 56 to $51, and it's going to bounce enough. And hopefully, where's it going to bounce to? Well, between these two EMAs, I'm going to try to get out at like 51.70, $52, somewhere in there. But the even better play was that 6 hour, because 48.74 is a much better spot for me to enter at, for me personally, but to each their own. But that's the EMA bounce plays, and that's how you look through the multiple time frames and try to find some support. Now, also, Coinbase just has like shitty charting, like it's bullshit. But you get to so you don't have any excuse if you're like, oh, I just don't know how to trade. I can never find a good setup. Like, even on this really simplistic bullshit, you can see lots of places where you could take a trade or find the trade. But if you go over to like TradingView, you can add a whole lot more than like the EMA 12 and the 26. And what you will see is the same thing like this, where you're looking, you're like, whoa, it just stopped in the middle of nothing. It didn't. It hit something. It hit, price support from the left. It hit congestion from before, or it hit a moving average, like a rising 200. And a lot of times, if you roll through multiple time frames with the EMAs on, you'll find out that this just didn't stop in the middle of no place. It specifically hit something, and that specific something, that's the best place to take a play.